You may have heard about this leak. Apple is allegedly planning to revive the iPad mini with a new design and all the cool stuff. But would it even make sense? I think the answer may not be as obvious as it seems. Here's why. An idea like this would have at least two problems, I think. The first is about usefulness. The second is about feasibility. Let's start with the former. According to the leak, this new iPad mini should have an iPad Air-like design. I'm saying the Air because it shouldn't have the huge camera module nor Face ID, but Touch ID on the power button, like the Air basically. It should have reduced bezels and no home button. It should have an A14. It should be as big or as tiny, I guess in this case, as the old iPad mini, and the screen diagonal should be about 8.5 inch. I will say, it sounds neat. But why would anyone ever want to buy it? Even with an A14, what can you really do with such a small tablet that you simply cannot do on a phone? A keyboard obviously would never work, because the individual keys would be simply too small for human hands. A wireless keyboard, maybe, but it would entirely defeat the point of portability. The pencil, if they even find a place to dock it, again, maybe, but at the point why not just save money and buy the base iPad with a bigger screen? Besides that, the only real use cases would be maybe watching YouTube or Netflix, and that's it. I wouldn't even go as far as to say for social networks, since this is how Instagram looks like on iPad, and that's actually the reason the iPad mini flopped in the first place. Nobody with a somewhat big phone, that's almost everyone in the year 2021, has any use for it. For the demographic that for some reason just doesn't have the space to carry a base iPad, a more logical solution I think would be to simply make a smaller Apple Pencil for the iPhone, which is also something that has been requested for a while by some people. As a concept, as cool as it would be to look at, it wouldn't really solve any of its problems. And actually, regarding the second problem I mentioned before, it would only make the situation even worse. Apple in the past already made some products I would consider pointless. The 3rd gen iPad Air, the 7th gen iPod Touch, obviously all the newer iPad minis. But do you know what do all those products have in common? They were made by using old stuff. This is something Apple has been doing a lot under Tim Cook. And don't get me wrong, it is not an inherently bad idea, far from it actually. It's the reason why the standard iPad, the iPhone SE, or the Apple Watch SE exist at all, and they are good products in my opinion. But if this new iPad mini is meant to be like the leaks are suggesting, they wouldn't really be able to do that. The chassis would be different, the screen would be different, maybe some components on the inside too. And that costs money. Apple isn't exactly the cheapest company out there. The 5th gen iPad mini starts at $399, despite only being one of those Frankenstein products. How do you think would they price an entirely redesigned model? I'd say, even in the best case scenario, not less than that. Which is still lots of money. But realistically, I could totally see something like that selling for $499, if not more. Honestly, who's spending this much just for note-taking and Netflix? I mean, if I just had money to waste on useless stuff I don't need, I would buy it, because it looks amazing from the renders. But I simply don't think there are that many insanely rich people drooling at the thought of buying iPad minis. And as much as people like to pretend it is, Apple is not a luxury brand. Their stuff is expensive, sure, more than the competition, but they still need to sell to the masses. And again, with the examples I provided before, it doesn't really matter if they don't sell that well, because those Frankenstein products are first and foremost meant to use those unused parts, which is something they couldn't really do this time. They would actually need to create some new parts for a product that I feel would sell horribly regardless of what they do with it. If you have been following this channel for a while, you know I have this hypothesis that some of the strange leaks we heard recently may have actually been fabricated by Apple itself, in order to make the leakers lose their credibility. Stuff like this just makes me believe in this idea even more, honestly. But I don't want to just repeat the same thing over and over. If you actually have a logical idea as for why Apple would ever want to revive the iPad mini in the way this leak suggests, please let me know in the comments. Ciao!